Enthusiasts, it's your boy Rob back with another video. Today we're going to be talking about Heroscape Age of Annihilation. This is just an update from, you can see it on the screen, the Gimpy Gamer. Wanted to do a reaction to one of his videos just because he's a serviceman. Wanted to show him some love, and you guys know I've got a big heart for veterans. So let's get into this video, guys.
Hey guys, welcome back. It is your favorite Gimp with a Limp, and I'm here with a video I'm very sad to be making. Update to the one I done previously, talking about Heroscape, Age of Annihilation.
I didn't see his first video at all.
Age of Inflation, as I called it. And I got what I expected to get out of that, which was mixed reactions, right? I expected people to agree, I expected people to disagree, and that's fine. Everyone's going to have their own opinion. And I think a lot of people who disagreed with me on the first one that I did, because I was harsh, and definitely give it, I was harsh on it.
So guys, when I first saw the campaign for this for Heroscape, I was not wild at all. It was really lackluster to me. Now, I don't have a lot of history with Heroscape. Funny story is, though, the gentleman, or the two guys actually, that got me into gaming, they were huge fans of this game. And this was like the flagship game for them that got them into gaming. And then like a year or two later, they met me, and I jumped aboard, just unfortunately not playing Heroscape. And I think the actual first game we played was Hero Quest. So that was my only really introduction to Heroscape back in the day. I knew it was a thing, but even at that time when I got into the game, I think it had already been really being pulled off of shelves. So just give you guys a little bit of background.
I think they disagreed for the same reasons I'm upset and I'm sad about, making this, is that they wanted to see this become a reality. And I'm sorry to say, it's not going to happen.
No, it is not.
So when I had originally done the first video, there was something, forget exactly, maybe.
My bad, guys. So right now, we are at day 2 at the recording of my video. Not day 2, excuse me. We got 2 days left. And actually, let's just pull it up real quick. All right, yeah, so we've got 2 days, 3 hours, and 3 minutes. And as you can see, guys, they're only at 3,778 backers from when they were on his day, or his video that was 3 days out, only at 724. So not really much traction. Not really many more backers are jumping on board. So yeah, this bad boy's dead in the water. So
15, 16, 17 days, somewhere around there left before the funding was going to end. And they have to hit 8,000 or they're not going to fund. Here we are, just a few days away, roughly 3 days, and they're not even halfway there.
That's just a sad part about this, just being so far. It's like, hey, we're halfway, but in this situation, halfway is just not gonna cut it. They want obviously a strong player base in order to make this game, and I can understand that. This is a lot of content in a box, and they've got big aspirations for this game. All these tiles and all this stuff comes with a lot of terrain and everything like that. Box full of miniatures that I don't care for at all. And it's just not enough. It's not enough to bring the people into the game, and it's a sad day for the hobby that we're not going to see this. Now, obviously, we've got 2 days left, but man, if the only way I see this not even coming close, I mean, the only way this is going to happen, and this is far-fetched, is if Hasbro was just like, okay, hey, let's just pump some money into it just to get, let's pay for another 3,000 backers, to get us, 3,000-4,000 backers, from where we need to be or whatever. I don't know. It's just, I wouldn't be surprised if they hadn't already done that. This 3,700 and some odd backers. I would not be surprised if 1,000 of those copies are paid by Hasbro.
Not going to happen. Everyone knows they know that it's going to be a failure, and they had actually discussed that fact. The basic gist is that they had spoken some on this issue, some of the people's concerns, and people had numerous concerns over multiple different things. I think they realized relatively quickly that Heroscape sadly was not going to fund.
No.
And unfortunately, it looks like this one's going back into the vault if it doesn't raise it.
Now, when someone says, hey, this is going back in the vault, there's a huge investment already made. Now, yes, it's Hasbro. They've got plenty of money. But, I mean, still, they've got these renders. They've got pre-production copies. From what I've heard, they've sent some stuff out already. So to some YouTubers and stuff, obviously to some other media outlets as well to cover the game. I would assume if they're smart, they would have. They've got game designers, artists. I mean, they've probably paid maybe, I don't know. They've probably paid several thousands of dollars just to get to the point of where they are now. Again, it being Hasbro, that's probably not a big deal for them, but that one's going to sting a little bit, and I can see them if they're smart. You know what? Let's get back to the video. I'm going to hold my idea.
2 million goal, which I'm sorry, it's not going to happen, guys. It's just not. The same issues that I talked about previously still exist, but they did some interviews talking about it. Avalon Hill, Hasbro's reboot, and it says it will be put back in the quote unquote vault of Hasbro owned properties and bring up a lot of questions about the game's future if it fails to hit the crowdfunding target of 2,008,000 pledges. And this is what Wargamer is reporting on. If we don't get the pledges.
One thing, sorry, I know he's in the middle of this and this is very interesting, but it's a competitive game. And I've said this to some friends of mine before. Dude, I just do not see competitive games doing well on crowdfunding platforms, just because it's like there's something to getting not having everything at once. There's something about piecemealing things together, and when you get everything in one go, I mean, how competitive is it going to be if if a guy that backed the Kickstarter or the Hasbro Pulse in this case walks in and he's got a plethora of units to choose from, there's not going to be any beating him. It gives just this unfair advantage. And so that's why when I heard that it was, they're going to focus on like making it competitive and having, tournaments and stuff like that, I was like, I really just don't see that happening. I think that should have been something they let the players kind of build and kind of rally behind and just player based, player focused, player created there, and Hasbro just stick to creating the game.
8,000 backers, then we won't produce this version of Heroscape. This version. Avalon Hill's head of design and development, Chris Nadeau, confirms with us in an interview. And that brings up a lot of questions internally of like, what do we want to do with Heroscape at this point? It would not obviously be released in this format without 8,000 backers. And it would make us kind of reboot the conversation about, where does Heroscape lie in the POFO?
So, I mean, that would even worry me. If I saw this back, I think that was November 5th when this article came out. So obviously they must have had that sit down and chat, a couple of days prior to that. But, that would just make me second guess wanting to back this. If you're telling me, hey, if we don't get 8,000 backers, we're going to put this thing away. So say they just got the 8,000, and units weren't moving afterwards. Once they did like a retail version, and units aren't moving. Are they really going to put the energy and time into tournaments and hosting tournaments and stuff like that and coming out with more content? I don't really see that being the case. Now I know what you can say. You can say, well, Hero Quest is doing really good, but Hero Quest is a board game through and through. You know what I mean? This is something you're going to be playing with at your home, running out, getting expansions and stuff, and it's got a solid player base. I mean, I know that Heroscape has its player base out there still, but I think a lot of those guys have everything they want, everything they need. There's a secondhand market for Heroscape, whereas Hero Quest, a lot of the stuff was being printed um, by players. Myself included. I printed my original set. Well, not original, but I printed my set of Hero Quest, um, and so
A
take that as you
portfolio.
will.
It talks about how it went live on October 1st and it's going to close November 15th, one day after my birthday. This would have been a nice birthday gift for
Happy
me
birthday, brother.
if it hadn't failed so badly. At the time of this interview, it had 3,200. Where is it at now? 3,700. So they get about 500 more. Nadu tells us this big box terrain-packed Vanguard box is focused a little bit more on the existing
Probably one day out by the time you guys see this
with
video.
all new factions, additional terrain, and various other changes informed by research Avalon Hill did into the Heroscape community's most wanted features. The longer-term plan, he explains, is to release a more competitive price point starter set and then make the product line a bit more a la carte after the initial crowdfunding to appeal to more new fans. And that's the...
So, guys, like, I know there's a lot of you out there that wanted to see this game be brought back, and I would have been happy for you. I'm one of those happy-go-lucky kind of gamers. If it's good for the goose, it's good for the gander. So what does that even mean? Okay, anyway, but so it's this is a game that has died. I thought this game only died twice, but someone what was his name? Always bored, never boring. His YouTube channel, great YouTube channel by the way. Check this guy out too. I watch a lot of his content. But anyway, I made a comment to him about on his page or his YouTube channel about this game dying twice. The second time being Arena of the Planeswalkers, and he actually said no, it's died 3 times. So I guess there was an iteration prior to Arena of the Planeswalkers. I'm assuming it was closer to when the original version of Heroscape was out. Maybe they tried to do like a soft reboot, or maybe just introduced another universe into the mix. I think they did like a Marvel, and then they did like a Dungeons and Dragons. I don't know if you would count that as a reboot or whatever, but obviously that didn't save the game. And then we had, like I was just saying, Arena of the Planeswalkers came out, which I have all 3 boxes that came out. And man, they were going for dirt cheap. I think I got the main set for about when I got it, it was still somewhat expensive. It was $27, which was a great steal back when I got it. And then I picked up the other 2 boxes. The one was like $5, and then the other one I picked up for like maybe 10 or 13 off of Amazon at the time. So, clearly they've tried it before, and with the Arena of the Planeswalkers, I thought the rules were fairly good. I mean, it threw some magic elements in it, as in MTG, but it suffered from poor miniature quality. Then everything else is fine. Oh, it didn't have many tiles either. The little hexagon tiles that you use to stack up, and that's what everyone wanted. I mean, that's the core of the game. They had a really good idea, giving you like a mat or some cardstock board with the tiles or with the hex grid map drawn out, and then you just put the tiles on top of that. And I thought that was a great idea. They just didn't give you many tiles to play the game with. And when I heard about this, I was just like, hey, give me the tiles, and I'll just kind of make my own game. I'll make like a Disgaea kind of game or something to use all that stuff with. So
Because they talked about this in the interview, and he says right here, the sky's the limit, because they could do anything with it. Imagine how many IPs have been released
couldn't save it.
Since this was originally produced way back in like the early 2000s. Forget Dungeons and Dragons. Of course, they were going to have Dungeons and Dragons stuff. But how many other IPs? They could go Western. They could go futuristic. They could do Marvel. They could do anything that video games.
Already tried Marvel. It didn't work.
Could you imagine God of War, Kratos in this? Anything. Assassin's Creed, Star Wars. The sky really was the limit.
So I am not a fan of like just a hodgepodge of characters from different eras and just I don't know. I just that just always looks messy to me when I'm looking at something like that on a gaming table. You know, you've got some World War II guys fighting against like some samurai that are also fighting against some space aliens. I just think that looks I don't know. I mean, it just it never really it's not appealing to me at all. I think if they would have just made their own little world or whatever, I mean, I guess they didn't make their world, but if it was not just like, hey, it's just pulled from just random eras in time and throughout the universe and whatever, and we're just blah, and it's just like miniature vomit on the table. I think it would actually be received better currently, you know. So,
but they shot too big out of the gate, right? That was a big thing. And after thinking on it more, reading up some of the comments that you guys talked about, I'm sticking with my original thing. The minis, there was just too many issues with, and everyone pointed out the fact that these are prototype minis. Okay, granted, let's say they're prototype minis and the final production version would be different. Well, your prototype minis are supposed to inspire confidence and excitement in your campaign, and these didn't, right? Regardless of the reason. The painting, if they looked good, if they were enough, if they're not enough, the types that existed, whatever the case may be, they just didn't churn up that excitement for the game itself. So these minis don't work. You combine that with the other points that I made, the fact that we're right here at Christmas. People are having hard years. I know it's been a real hard year for us compared to what we've had previously. We're struggling to make sure ends are meeting and we're going to be able to give the kids a nice Christmas. We can't be the only ones. So if we're having those issues, why are you?
I think that's more anecdotal. You know, it's unfortunate that they're having, you know, financial issues, and not able to, you know, purchase something like this. You know, I mean, I look at it, it's like 250. I'm not buying it anyway. Financial issues or not. So, I mean, it's just that would not be responsible to me if I were to go out and spend 250 on this single game that you know that I have no faith in. But maybe you do. Maybe you have all the faith in the world, and you're like, "Oh, this is going to be the next big thing," and that's why you put your money down. You want to see it come back. You want to see it bigger and better. But you know, I think as far as when they launched, I think it was a decent time to launch. You know, because they launched it early enough to where it necessarily wouldn't get, it wouldn't take away from your Christmas funds, or it could possibly take some funds that you have saved up for Christmas. You know, I think it works both ways. It's right there at that between point. You know, it was a little early, but you know, and not into that Christmas hunt where you're like, oh man, I got to get these gifts. I got to get these gifts. You know, because I mean, it's going to end in a few days. We haven't had Thanksgiving yet. Like if this was like ending around like after Thanksgiving, that'd be a different story. But no, I think when they launched, it was a decent time. It's just 204 or $250 is a lot of money to ask again for a game that died. I think if anybody that isn't already a Heroscape total fanboy, I think if they did any research on it and they're like, oh wait, because this game has died already twice, and the people that are supposed to be the diehard fans aren't, just loving everything they're seeing. It just goes to show, I mean, I don't know. There's a lot of things. There's a lot of moving parts in a situation like this, and it's unfortunate again, but there's something that was not done right. I think I would have cut half this stuff out. I'd have given you, or they sold it with like maybe, I don't even know how many factions they have. I would have sold it for maybe half the miniatures that are in the box now, but maybe give all the terrain that's there, at least the land pieces, and go from there, and break it up into multiple boxes. And maybe that's what it is. Maybe they should have broken this up into multiple boxes. From what I saw, there was one large box. I mean, massive box. Maybe they should have said, "Hey, here's two armies. Here's a bunch of tiles, and that's the core set. That core set's, I don't know, $100. And then, hey, you can get, this. Here's another faction, and then here's another faction, and here's a terrain set." Break it up like that so people will buy into it, at an affordable cost. And then those that want to buy more can buy more. I think they would have got the numbers they're looking for. They would have got that $8,000 backers if it was priced at $100, maybe even 120, with the contents of that core box sliced in half.
I have this huge campaign right at the start of the holidays. I mean, it's ending days before Black Friday when people are going to be doing their shopping. You're asking for a significant portion of their budget to do this.
I mean, if they're going out for Black Friday, they might as well spend $240 and $50 on it. Again, I don't think the launch date was, or not launch date, or their launch of their crowdfunding has anything to do with people trying to tighten their belts or anything like that.
Right, for this campaign, and it's not overly exciting prospect, right? It's the stuff people aren't really kind of king about. And here's the thing: there are no pledge levels. This is like a Kickstarter offering only one level, and the level's all in, right? Some Kickstarters might be able to get away with that, but I don't think this one could. There are too many people out there like myself. I actually just finished a 6-part Heroscape playthrough series using my original set. I'm going to be uploading it on the channel here soon because it really made me want to pull the game back out. But there are people like me who already have stuff. Why weren't we given the option to just buy some new factions? Maybe some terrain, maybe some of the wall features here they have, whatever, right? Break it up a little bit. Give people some choice. If they had my suggestion, my thought would have been if they'd come in at a price point of something about $150 for a nice set that was unpainted, and then maybe $180 to have the set painted, I think they would have done a lot better. I think they would have had people coming in. Maybe have something to where you could spend $20, $30, somewhere around there, to get the miniatures for a faction and the cards and whatnot, everything you need.
I'm agreeing with them. I mean, I just said it a moment ago. Break it up. I say 120 for that core set. Two factions, a bunch of terrain tiles, and just terrain or whatever. Obviously, you're going to get your faction cards. And then come at 120. I guarantee you they would have hit 8,000 backers if that were the case, but
right. So if you wanted to, you could just do a level to get all the different factions you need. Or if you wanted maybe the factions and some extra pieces of terrain, you could do that. If you want the whole set, you could do that. Give people those choices. You would have had far more backers. It's a lot better to get many more people buying pieces than it is to get a very small amount of people willing to buy the whole thing. I'm happy just to keep my original sets because I don't necessarily need all this, and I certainly can't afford it. Yes, I would have liked to have had it, but I can't afford the amount that they're asking for. Not right now. Hell no. It's just no way in hell. You combine that with everything else. Okay. So the timing's bad. You don't give people any choice, and they chose the wrong platform. Okay. They shouldn't have done it on their HasLab thing. That's their.
Now I'm going to stop them here. It's why wouldn't they do it on their own platform? I mean, they're keeping 100% of the money, you know. Why would they go and pay Kickstarter to do the same thing they can do and that they have done? I mean, Hero Quest went off without a hitch, you know. So their platform works. That's not the case. The case is that they packaged this in the wrong way. That's the case. They packaged it in the wrong way. They asked for too much money, and they're relying on, I'd say, a player base that probably has most of the stuff they need. I mean, in this case, if you've been playing this game and you're still a huge fan of it, you've probably got all the tiles you need. So basically, you're just buying a box of miniatures. And not saying it's relating to this game, but for me, dude, I've got three huge tubs of miniatures. I don't buy games anymore for miniatures. That was something I did in that first, 5 years of me kind of being in this hobby, which I got into the hobby around, I say between 2010 and 2012. I was really into this hobby. Um, and I was more so kind of just getting into D&D and stuff like that. But there's no way I'm going to be just dropping cash. And I know there's a lot of people out there that are just now getting into the hobby and they base everything off of, hey, are there cool miniatures in this game? But this is a conversation I was having again with a buddy. I said, dude, like 8 out of 10 games that come out nowadays have great miniatures. So you shouldn't base your purchase off of if a game has great miniatures or not, because it's almost redundant. You're going to have good miniatures. So
Okay, whatever. You want to try to keep all the profits in house. I can respect that, but my analogy that I gave to some people who had talked about it, mentioned it in my previous video, was the fact that they essentially decided that they're not going to sell at Walmart, right? They're not going to put their product in the big box store where it's going to catch a lot of traffic and a lot more people are going to see it. They're going to have their tiny little store, their small little store. And relatively speaking, I'm not talking about the amount of product they might churn, but for something like this, I mean, it's known, right? It's a nomenclature of calling something a Kickstarter, even if it's not on Kickstarter. That term means a pledged for game product. It's become very synonymous. Mm-hmm. So instead of going to the big guys on the block where, yeah, they might take a cut, I don't have any idea what the cut is. I wouldn't assume it'd be more than maybe 5 or 7%. If they were approaching 10, that'd be a little greedy, but let's say for our purposes, it's 5 to 7%. I'm guessing. If you guys know, put it in the comment. Instead of giving them that small piece and having this exposed to so many more eyes, they skipped it. They went to their small store.
Again, Hero Quest did not have this problem at all. Could it have earned more money on Kickstarter? Possibly, but I think the benefit or the amount it would have raised would have gone straight to Kickstarter anyway, so they would have lost that percentage or whatever it is. But I think my kid's calling me. Sorry guys. I just know that their idea to launch on Hasbro Pulse was the right idea for them. I mean, it's their company. I mean, they're not going to do it anywhere else. So that should not even be up for debate.
So they decided to have their mom and pop store selling it versus taking it to Walmart where everyone's going to see it and be interested and potentially buy it. That could have possibly, would that have gotten them up to the 8,000 backers?
No.
Maybe.
No.
I think it would have got them a hell of a lot closer.
Maybe.
But if you combine everything, this perfect storm that they have, the bad timing, right here at the holidays, people not happy about the minis, regardless if you don't like the fact that they're painted or unpainted. I don't care, but some people really do. The fact that there are no pledge levels, right? It doesn't matter. There's no player choice. You're getting what you're getting. Like I mentioned previously, I don't really care about all these walls, right? I don't care about the trees. They don't mean that much to me. And I've got other stuff I could really use if I want to have some type of terrain on the map. The terrain wasn't as big of a deal for me for a game like Heroscape. Yes, it's going to come into play in many other war games, but Heroscape really isn't it. It's more to do with these hex tiles, right? So all of that put together with the fact that they're selling on their own, it was the perfect storm to cause this to collapse. It's one of the biggest names that I've ever seen fail like this because they didn't hit the numbers that they thought they needed to actually produce the game. Now, I think they should be able to produce the game with roughly 4,000 backers. They're getting about $1 million. That should be more than enough funds for them to make it cost effective.
So I think for a company that is Hasbro size, they're probably looking at the bigger picture, like, yeah, they can produce that. They're Hasbro. They could have produced this game if they wanted to. I think there's something about having a finite player base, at least going into things that they really wanted, or they feel like they need, because they don't want to just produce this game, sell their 4,000 copies, and then not have enough players to sustain the time and the energy that they're putting into it to release future content. And that's my take on it.
Unless there's something off here, something I'm not seeing. Maybe the percentage they wanted as profit, they set too high. I don't know. Maybe you sell this first set at less of a profit. I'm not saying sell it at a loss, but make a little less money on the back end just to get it back into people's hands.
I think they got greedy, maybe. Maybe just seeing the turnout for Hero Quest, and they're like, okay, what else do we have in the vault that we can make some money off of? And then they're like, yeah, somebody's like, hey, how about Heroscape? Because they probably wanted it back anyway, and they threw some designers on it, and it's like, yeah, let's make some money. Okay, this is what we got for Hero Quest. Let's see if we can turn it up a notch. Let's turn this thing up to 11 and make some real dough. Maybe that was the case, But I mean, I think they shot themselves in the foot. I think they didn't even put any time. They put time into, or I should say, I think the designers put time into coming up with the new units and stuff like that. They didn't really do anything with the tiles, looks like. But maybe people don't care about that. I don't know. But I just feel like, they didn't. I'm going out here on a limb on this one, but I feel like they did not think this this all the way through. I think they should have thought about how they were going to present it. I've heard stories that that the pledge page didn't even have like a lot show. It wasn't showing a lot of content out of the gate, and then they had to come back and show videos of all what you were getting. They had to show videos of gameplay, like there was not originally some gameplay. I'm assuming the gameplay is nearly identical to what it did before, so maybe they felt like they didn't need it, and then they had to go back. But I think they should have that should have all been there at launch. If it wasn't, I think you got to come out of the gate strong. You can't just say, hey, we've got an IP that that was loved by a fan base. Sorry, my computer's keeps going dim here. It's I don't have it plugged up, but yeah, man, it's I think it was just a poor start. And I think that start was not strong, and it came back to bite them, and they're just falling short.
So then later on, you can make your profit off those numerous expansions that are going to be coming based off of all the IPs that you could ever potentially make. You could create your own, you could license.
Expansions don't make money. I'm joking. Expansions don't do well as the core set because you gotta have the core set, for any game. I don't care what we're talking about. That core set is where your money's at. Expansions are made to continue to sell the core game, to continue to support it. But you know, expansions are just that. They're expansions. They're supplements. So it's like a supplemental income. It's you can't base when you go out to design a game, and I'm learning this myself. When you go out to design a game, you don't put all your eggs in that one basket, but you gotta come with it. That core game has to be able to stand on its own, you know, regardless if there's going to be expansions or not. When I design something, I don't design something with the intentions of, well, I'll get it in the expansion. I'm going all in as far as design and stuff like that. And then expansions are things that you think about throughout that time, and you say, what, maybe I didn't have time to get this into the core game, which is I really need to make a video covering why I don't like the thing I don't like about Kickstarter with getting all the expansions at once. But yeah, let me get back to this video because it's kind of getting long.
Anything you could pull from history, people would love that, like war gamers like myself. You could go back to antiquity, pulling different types of historical figures. You wouldn't have to pay royalties to anyone to add numerous expansion packs. And that's not considering all the other types of stuff, the generic IPs that could be added, like Star Wars, Star Trek, Dungeons and Dragons, that type of stuff. In this, I think they overestimated what they had and they got greedy. They thought the name Heroscape was going to sell it on its nostalgia alone.
Yeah.
And because of that, they didn't take the steps necessary to really plan this out as well as they could have, and didn't deliver the product that the customer wanted.
It's crazy how it's almost like us gamers, we're like a hive mind. I think a lot of times we just know, man. We know what these companies are thinking, and we're thinking the same thing, and we can just see through what the companies, like larger companies like Hasbro, are presenting. And in this case, it's a bunch of fluff. There was no substance there. I feel like delivered wrong, too many missteps, and the fanboys and the casuals like myself, as far as Heroscape's concerned, saw right through what Hasbro was doing, and didn't.
They delivered the product they wanted the customer to buy, right? Then there's a difference in that. Unfortunately for us, this means that Heroscape is not going to be produced.
Nope.
I'm praying big time, crossing my fingers here, that this does not mean that Heroscape is going back into the vault permanently. There's so much that could be done with it, and I had an absolute blast. Huge amount of fun playing with my old set that I haven't brought out in years. It's just such a fun game. The rules are basic enough to teach your kids. You can play a basic version if you want, or you can play the full-on version with the special features, special rules for all the different types of characters, and it's just a blast. Make a big, large map spread all across your table, or make a small one that goes as high as you want. So many ways to play the game, right? There's so much they could have done with this, and they just did it back-asswards and ended up crushing their own campaign because of it. I think we got to find some way, let them know, maybe keep talking about it, keep making videos, hound them. Hey, Hasbro, we want Heroscape, but we don't want this version of it. We want the version we want of it. We want some options. You need to come in at a price point that will pay. Yep. You need to give people, I hate to say this because I don't care about the painted minis, but they got to find a way to do that. There are too many people that want painted minis. And I get that. That's fine if that's a big selling.
Listen, those painted minis, people complain about $250. If this edition of the game, as is, came with painted miniatures, you know how much that game would cost? It'd almost not be worth it. Well, I guess technically it's not worth it right now because people ain't backing it. But dude, I'd say that with painted miniatures, it'd probably be damn near $350 with painted miniatures. If not, maybe just $300. Maybe $300. And that's being generous. Again, it's Hasbro. They could probably eat it, I guess. I just don't see it. Not like that. Not a box coming with that many miniatures that's painted. Maybe if it was, again, like he's saying, like I'm saying, if they were to break this thing up, maybe that core set comes, again, core set, 2 units, or not units, but two squads or whatever they're called, 2 teams. And those guys are painted. Hell, do what they did with Planeswalkers, Arena of the Planeswalkers, where the Planeswalkers are, I guess, the main characters are painted, and then all of the scrubs are just solid color. You could do that to kind of meet people halfway. Or they could do like a WizKids thing, where, hey, you've got your painted version and then you've got your unpainted version, and that painted version is like that premium, and you're paying for it, So I think there are different ways they could have skinned this cat, but it's a little late
that's
now.
a big selling point for you. They got to find a way to appease that. There are plenty of people that don't have the ability to paint their own minis and don't want it.
I don't want it.
And I'm sorry, it seems like no one liked these garish colors. But again, that harks back to if these are just stand-ins, why would you have them here? Nobody liked these neon colors. They just don't look good. People didn't care for it. So if this wasn't going to be representative of your final product.
That's a funny one. They're like, oh, I didn't like the color of these miniatures. I'm like, that's the color of the miniature. I mean, that would be something that would not like even cross my mind. Like, I'm gonna not like that they're not painted, but I'm not going to give 2 cents, if they're like a neon green or whatever, unless it just washes the detail all the way out. But I mean, like, that's just something that didn't cross my mind, that like I don't like the color plastic. I don't fucking care about that. That's petty. That's small things. Come on, guys. If that was a major factor of people not backing this game, then that says something about the community, man. Dude, oh my god. I hope that wasn't the case.
Why would you put it as your advertising? It was nice to know, though, that they were planning on doing the original versions of the character cards like these, right? Instead of the ones that were in that other picture that I now don't see. Oh, these. Because they were originally switching to something like that. And people did comment and let me know that was what they were originally going to go to, but they did catch hell over it. So they decided to go back to.
Bro, those cards are freaking hideous. Is this what the original cards look like for this game? Like, just put it on a regular card. I don't know, maybe that's giving them extra space to do something because it's got like little hex pieces. Like, I guess it matches the theme of the game, but I don't. I mean, again, it's kind of like the color of the miniatures. A card is a card, but I just feel like that's just like this awkward like shape if I'm kind of picking the card up. I mean, I feel like that would be more of a complaint, at least from me, the style of the cards. But I mean, if this is the original card style, then and people want, what they originally had, or they want this new version to match their old version as close as possible, then hey, hands off right there. You guys hey, if you guys, it's on you on that one. I would have just played it. I guess I would have just kept my mouth closed, but I would have been thinking, like, these cards are hideous, but whatever.
These original shapes that people do like and were preferring. So yes, release the factions. God, I would love some more factions. And I've got a huge amount of figures. I want more figures. What I really want is more figures and more terrain, right? I want as much terrain as I can get so I can come up with the craziest maps I can come up with and the weirdest combinations of people fighting each other. I had an awesome match where the elite airborne were fighting these swamp monsters and this big chompy dinosaur thing, and had friggin' blast with it. That's what I want more of.
Yeah, that's not me. I know everyone's got their cup of tea. For me, I just like to, hey, if it's gonna be fantasy, it's gonna be fantasy. Sci-fi is sci-fi. If it's World War II, historical, it's gonna be that. I don't like the whole hodgepodge of characters and battling it out in some sci-fi.
They can do it, but they need to do it right. Wait a few months, pull their heads out of their ass, relaunch this thing somewhere around April, May next year after they've revamped things, and give people some choice and offer it at a price point that someone's willing to pay for. I wouldn't mind spending $100 to get some new factions and some new terrain pieces to add to what I've already got. Bam, right? I'll back you. Just don't try to force hold and pigeonhole me into a bunch of stuff that I don't want at a price point I can't afford. I don't know. We'll have to see. It's sad. It is what it is. Yep. Just remember, in 3 days, put your flags at half-mast, because Heroscape has been taken out. It has sadly rolled snake eyes and been destroyed. It's unfortunate, but hopefully it will rise like the phoenix and come up from the ashes and be reborn into a better edition instead of Age of Completion. What they went with, we'll have something better. Cross our fingers. All right, you guys take care. I'll catch you in the next one.
All right, guys, so I'm going to just pull this up. Again, we're sitting over here at 2 days, 3 hours. I've got to refresh my page.
Even if your team's not in the same place, your work can be.
Stop that real quick. So anyway, guys, that's the video for today. Thank you for sitting here. It's a little longer than I planned to make it, but let me know down in the comments, did you back it? Would you back it? Were you waiting to see if it was going to launch? And should I make another video covering this on its last day of life before they finally put it in the can? Guys, you let me know. It's like always, been a pleasure, and see you next time.